In the last video, we saw Zhang Zi's debut as the hunter Rakshasa in the demon territory. He once lived on Earth but was teleported to a different parent when he was 8. His adoptive parents died in a monster attack, and he is the one who looks after his sick sister Zhang Feng. He wants to awaken a rank talent on his 18th birthday but is surprised on getting an SSS rank talent summoner. He can summon any monster he has killed and even level them up. He uses his wits and kills one monster, and then he starts defeating more of them to form a great team. Thanks to a coincidence, he manages to get an elite boss class monster, Dark Shadow Wolf 2. Not even a genius like Moon Shadow, the proficient swordswoman, could beat it alone. He saves one of his classmates who was kidnapped by greedy hunters and then proceeds to enter the second floor of the demon territory. But he makes sure to keep his identity hidden from everyone. He enters the second floor through a gate and finds another teleportation altar there. The second floor is a rocky cave. It is less crowded than level 1, but there are still a lot of people. They are trying to recruit members into their groups, and it is a scene out of a fish market. Rakshasa or Zhang Zi decides to travel alone as it would be safer than trusting anyone. 3 types of monsters are found on the second floor of the demon territory. Poison spiders could use their webs to immobilize enemies and deal poison damage. Bloodthirsty bats had low attack value but could heal themselves by drinking their enemy's blood. The boss was the heaven-devouring frog, a giant monster with high HP and attack. It was resistant to normal attacks and could use AoE attacks. Zhang Zi immediately encounters a poison spider as he finishes reading about them. He summons his beasts and finds that poison damage hurt his summons at a steady rate. He defeats it and frees a slot for it by sacrificing a violent rabbit. The stats of the spider are higher than normal floor 1 monsters. He is then ambushed by some bloodthirsty bats, and he finds that their abilities are also quite annoying. But he decides to defeat one bat at a time and manages to add them to his summoning roster. He loses a few beasts as well, but it does not stop him from attempting the floor boss. But there is a problem standing in his way. Some hunters have formed a gang and blocked the entrance to the boss. They are demanding magic soul orbs to enter the boss cave. The people protest, but the thugs don't give up their ways. No one can do anything against them, and the lawkeepers are not there to stop them. The thugs are taking payment from hunters and gathering them in a team. Then they can defeat the boss for them and open the next floor for those who pay. Zhang Zi decides to go with them. He fools the lookout of the thugs that he will pay them in gold when they reach the next floor. He lies that he is from a rich family and they were waiting for him on level 3. Once they reach there, he would give them 10 gold bars. The thug gets happy on hearing this and welcomes Zhang Zi to the team. They take the hunters who have taken their deal to the man who will fight the boss. He is called Money-Earning Superhero and is the leader of the thugs. Zhang Zi notices that he is a proficient boxer, which meant he was strong and skilled. The thugs hype him up, saying that he will beat the boss alone and no one else was needed. They enter the cave, and the heaven-devouring frog was much bigger than Zhang Zi expected. The leader of the thugs attacks it with his rank skill Fire Fist. One hit is strong enough to lower the HP of the frog by 30%. The frog breathes fireballs and everyone dodges them. The leader of the thugs is damaging the frog very easily, but Zhang Zi wants to deal the killing blow as that would let him summon the frog later. He aims for the eye of the frog and tries to attack when it had very little HP left. But he miscalculates and shoots much earlier than he should have. The boss of the thugs lets him do as he pleases. He thinks that the unknown archer was going to die at the hands of the frog. Everyone thinks the same and laughs at him for trying something foolish. But Zhang Zi summons his beasts, and they attack the frog. He defeats the heaven-devouring frog without much difficulty, but still loses 2 of his summons. As he is collecting the orbs that were dropped from the boss, the thugs surround him. They threaten him that he should hand over everything he has or they would kill him. He calculates that he has lost a few beasts, but his elite Dark Shadow Wolf was still not summoned. He could defeat the thug with just 1 monster. But before that, Money-Earning Superhero attacks his summoned bat and kills it with 1 strike. He says that his skill may be surprising, but it is no match against real strength. Zhang Zi is thinking about unleashing all his monsters and finishing off the thugs. But there is a discipline inspector of the Demon Territory Management Bureau hidden among the hunters who took the deal offered by the thugs. His hunter nickname is Natural Law, and he was working undercover to expose and arrest the thugs. He tells them to surrender peacefully as he had collected all the proof he needed against them. Zhang Zi feels lucky that he won't have to fight them. Natural Law tells Zhang Zi that he was impressed by his rare skill and would protect him. He appears confident in his strength despite not looking strong. But the leader of the thugs says that he is going to kill the discipline inspector before he can do anything. He sends one of his men at the nerdy-looking inspector, but he is not as weak as he looks. He uses his magic spell Ice Ray on the attacker and freezes him. When another thug attacks him thinking that he would be helpless during his cooldown period, Natural Law uses martial art and defeats him. He is a class magician who has also mastered martial arts. He once again warns the thugs to surrender as his colleagues were going to come soon. But their leader has other plans. One of his men uses a fortification-type skill on him and he attacks Zhang Zi and the inspector. But Zhang Zi stops his movement using his spiders and then summons his trump cards. The thugs cannot believe that they have to fight an elite dark shadow wolf as well as heaven-devouring frog at the same time. But even then, money-earning superhero can match the frog easily as he was experienced in fighting them. Zhang Zi also realizes that he is deliberately fighting the frog first so that he can face the wolf later. At this rate, the battle would turn in his favor. Zhang Zi decides to use a surprise attack on the thugs who are confident that they won't lose. He uses the Berserker talisman he had obtained from the kidnappers on the wolf. The wolf becomes enraged at the leader of the thugs who has no idea what caused this reaction. He runs away from the wolf because it was not safe to fight a berserk monster. But the wolf is much faster than him and easily catches up to him. The wolf launches a series of frenzied attacks and the money-earning superhero dies. Natural Law is scared by the potential Rakshasa's talent has. He wants him to be closely monitored so that he does not walk the path of evil. But then his colleagues arrive and arrest all the thugs. Zhang Zi checks out the loot his enemies dropped. There are a lot of good things, including something called an invitation letter. It allowed the user to enter the death territory. Zhang Zi had not heard that name in all his years of studying the demon territory. He decides to worry about it later and absorbs the high-level magic soul orbs for strength and agility. Natural Law approaches him and compliments him on his amazing talents. He tries to scout Zhang Zi into the Demon Territory Management Bureau, but Zhang Zi refuses his offer. So Natural Law gives him his contact details in case he ever changes his mind. But just as Zhang Zi is about to enter the gate for the 3rd floor, Natural Law stops him again. He advises him to stay on the path of righteousness in the future. He says that his power was a dangerous weapon and he should never use it to harm the citizens of their country, Dazia. Rakshasa replies that he is also a citizen of Dazia and would not think to harm it in any way. With that, he enters the gate and finds himself on the 3rd floor. While the 2nd floor was like a cave, the 3rd floor is again an open space. It is a dense forest with new monsters. But there is less crowd on the 3rd floor as not many people could reach it. Zhang Zi understands that people were right to be scared of the higher floors as the dangers increased. The monsters on the 3rd floor are not animal-like monsters but humanoid creatures. The 2 common monsters he would encounter here were Goblin Warrior and Goblin Stone Pelter. He finds the change interesting but decides not to explore the 3rd floor immediately. He was getting late and decides to return home. When he reaches home, he finds that his sister is not home yet. He checks her room and she is not even there. He thinks that she was still at her friend's home studying. But then he sees that he has 15 missed calls from her while he was away. He calls back and the person on the other hand shouts at him for being irresponsible. He is asked to come to the Yunding Club's dance hall immediately. Zhang Feng was in trouble and needed any help she could get. Zhang Zi runs to the club. It was a luxury establishment in the city they lived in. But why would Zhang Feng go there? There are guards standing at the gate and they tell Zhang Zi that he cannot go in. They judge from his clothes that he is poor and refuse to let him through. He gets angry about this and rushes past them while shoving them aside. He can only think about his sister's reason to come to this place. She had told him that she could help with the financial situation of their household and maybe this was the method she had. But no matter what path she had chosen, he was going to save her. Inside the club, a rich man is pestering 2 girls. One of them is Zhang Feng. His name is Wu Haotian and he wants Zhang Feng to accompany his friends for drinks. He even offers her a credit card so that she does not refuse their order. But Zhang Feng doesn't want to do what he says and even her friend tries to save her. Wu Hao pushes her aside and says that his VIP friend is interested only in Zhang Feng. He tries to force her to join him and make him feel good and she starts crying. Zhang Zi had just entered the dance hall and he is angry at the men harassing his sister. Wu Haotian tells him that they were from the notorious organization Tianxing and it was foolish to talk rudely to him. Zhang Feng's friend becomes worried upon learning that they were such dangerous people. They were influential and powerful and had many elite hunters at their service. Zhang Zi picks up the credit card and flicks it at Wu Hao with great speed. But his friend, Cheng, jumps from the sofa and catches the card before it hits his assistant. Wu Hao gets furious and orders the guards to beat Zhang Zi. But just then, the owner of the club enters the scene and asks them to behave properly in her place. Everyone calls her sister Zhang and she is very pretty and stylish. She finds that people from the Tianxing organization were disturbing the peace of her dance hall. Wu Hao tries to argue with her and she tries to get him to calm down and forget about the disagreement. He gets furious at her and warns her that she could lose her position if she fights them. But Zhang warns them that they should go back to their home if they were thinking about causing trouble in her home. The crowd at the dance hall joins her and starts booing the troublemakers. They call them bullies and shout that they should go back to their city. But the rich man loses his temper and tells them that people like him invest money in the hunters that protect their cities from monsters. If he decides to withdraw his support, most of them would die. He says that no one can stop him from taking Zhang Feng with him. Zhang gets angry on hearing this and attacks him. But Cheng is there to protect his friend yet again. He uses his skill and pushes Zhang backwards and she falls on the floor. She had not expected him to be so strong. Cheng was an S-ranker in his city and was recognized as a genius there. Wu Hao says that he is going to take the girl with him in any case and his guards try to catch her. but Zhang Zi kicks him and declares that he will not let anyone harm his little sister. She is also very happy upon listening to this and forgets about the trouble they were facing. Cheng is no longer interested in the girl, he wants to face her brother now. He asks him if he was also a hunter in the demon territory. But the thing that impressed him the most was Zhang Zi's speed. Cheng had an agility of 11 and thinks that Zhang Zi was even faster than him. He introduces himself as Cheng Feng, a third-year high school student from Zhongbei City. Zhang Zi also tells him about his school and year. They are both of the same generation and Cheng is pleasantly surprised by this fact. He asks Zhang Zi to spar with him but the latter blatantly refuses and starts walking away. Cheng tries to catch him unprepared by throwing a bottle at his back but Zhang Zi is fast enough to react to it. Cheng says that he will not let him or his sister leave the building. Zhang Zi decides that he has no choice but to fight him. Zhang advises him to be careful as Cheng was very strong. But when Cheng attacks Zhang Zi he shows that he was not using his full strength against Zhang. But Zhang Zi plays to his advantage and dodges his attack. He circles Cheng at unbelievable speed and hits him where he can't block. His rich friend is also worried about finding a strong fighter in a small city like this. Zhang Zi breaks Cheng's arm with his attack and forces him to retreat. But while leaving, Cheng warns him that he would come to take his revenge after he gets into the prestigious King University. But Zhang Zi teases him by saying that he was also aiming to get into the same university. Cheng gets angry and tries to taunt Zhang Zi by bringing his sister into his insults. But Zhang Zi does not fall for his taunts. The crowd boos them as they leave but Zhang Zi is also ready to leave with his sister. Zhang invites him to talk in her office upstairs and tries to reward him with 500,000 yuan for his help. While the reward is really tempting, Zhang Zi tells her that he should not accept it. But Zhang explains to him about her rivalry with the people he beat tonight. Cheng Feng was especially troublesome for her club and she was thankful that he had shown them their place. The money was not just a reward for his acts but also a request to help her if the same people tried to cause trouble again. Zhang Feng convinces her brother and he accepts her reward and her request. As they leave the club, Zhang Zi scolds his sister and tells her to never work there again no matter how much they pay her. She tries to calm him down by complimenting him and it works for the most part. The next day, he meets the friend he saved from getting kidnapped in the demon territory. He tells him about the story and how the awesome hunter named Rakshasa saved his life. He claims that he will become his student. Zhang Zi is relieved that his identity was a secret. But there is more trouble waiting for him. Zheng Hao, the top student of their class who had awakened in a ranked talent, greets him suddenly. He asks Zhang Zi if he cleaned the martial art practice room yesterday. Zhang Zi tells him that he did it but he hopes that Zheng Hao had not seen him hit the dynamometer. That is exactly what Zheng Hao is there for. But he had only seen the number on the dynamometer. He asks him excitedly if he had seen the person who did it. Zhang Zi feigns ignorance and thanks his luck that he was not caught while doing that. He rushes away making an excuse but Zheng Hao is a bit suspicious of him. But his friend tells him that Zhang Zi was not even in the top 100 of the school in last month's physical abilities exam. Zheng Hao believes him and thinks that they will surely meet the person in the National Martial Arts Tournament. Zhang Zi is watching TV in his home at night while his sister is doing her chores. The news warns the people about a dangerous fugitive had entered their city while running away from the police. Everyone was urged to not leave their houses at night, especially students. Zhang Zi decides to enter the demon territory again and warns his sister about what was on the news. He enters the third floor and decides to complete his team of 10 monsters before anything else. He had lost half his summons while fighting in the second floor boss cave. He checks the monsters on the level. The Goblin Warrior was a short-range monster while the Goblin Stone Pelter was a long-range monster that threw stones at its target. He decides to defeat one of both types before worrying about his team formation. He hears the screams of a group of hunters coming from a place near him. 3 hunters were facing a team of Goblin Warrior and Goblin Stone Pelter. The goblins proved too much for them and the hunters run away screaming for help. Zhang Zi realizes that both the goblins were quite strong and would be nice additions to his team. He summons his newest monster, Heaven-Devouring Frog, and asks it to attack the Goblin Warrior. But that is not enough to kill the goblin and he summons his Lava Turtle too. But the Goblin Warrior can block the attacks of the turtle and the Stone Pelter does major damage and kills it. Zhang Zi realizes that he should take out the Goblin Stone Pelter first and asks the frog to attack it first. But before his Dark Shadow Wolf can finish the job by defeating it, the Goblin Stone Pelter runs away. Everyone is shocked by his actions and Zhang Zi summons his Violent Rabbit to chase it. In the meantime, he defeats the Goblin Warrior with the help of his 2 boss-class monsters. He finds the stats of the Goblin Warrior were even higher than Floor 2 monsters. But he finds that the Violent Rabbit he sent was defeated. He hears the sound of multiple footsteps coming towards him and finds that the stone-pelting goblin that escaped is back with an army of goblins behind him. Will Zhang Zi fight the goblins or will he run away? Let us find out what tactics he uses to win against the goblins. What will his team look like when he goes to fight the Floor 3 boss? And what lies beyond the gate to the 4th floor? Let us find out all the answers in the next video.